sinking. The planets align, the stars burn bright, the sun goes down, we keep going all night. Don't back down, the moment is now. Don't miss out, we're never turning around. The night is young, we're out and free. If you can, try to catch me if you can. Catch me if you can. We're renegades. We're renegades. We're renegades. They'll never see us 'cause we're moving the night. We're always ready if they put up a fight. Outrun, outclimb, we'll outshine. You will run and think it's worth it to try. So listen up, I'm calling your bluff, calling your bluff. Yeah, give it up, I think you've had enough. We're renegades. Yeah, we're renegades. We're renegades. Too much on the line, too much to give in. If you think it's over, then let's start it again. The planets align, the stars burn bright, the sun goes down, let's keep going all night. So listen up, I'm calling your bluff, calling your bluff. Yeah, give it up, think you've had enough, We're renegades. We're renegades. We're renegades. We're renegades. We're renegades.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Oh man, made it.
Way behind.
Patrick making me nervous again. Whew. Texted him at around 8 o'clock this morning, about an hour and a half ago, and said, "Yo," like asking him some questions. He's like, "Hey, I'm out running errands," and I'm like, "What?" So he made it though. He made it. So apologies in advance. My dogs are in a barking mood. I said that in the chat. So you may hear some barking in the background. That is my big, over 200-pound plus Great Dane just hanging out with us. So
that's a big dog, man.
It is a big dog. A big cuddle bug.
It's a big dog.
A big lap dog. Just likes being on your lap. So how you doing, Patrick? Let me get our thing here. I switched. You'll notice our cameras switched again. I had a little fun, and what I forgot to do?
What?
I forgot to change the names. I just thought about that. Oh man! So Patrick is Adam. Adam is Patrick. Everything's good. So
hey.
I put a little post on the YouTube social tab talking about the background. The background I had before, I didn't like it so much, and so I switched it up. You can kind of see it in the background, but Patrick saw this before. I actually have both cameras set up right now, so I'll just switch over to show you the full view of what I've got. So that's the full background behind me right now. So I got everything moved around, and it's really nice. So yep. So back to that. All right.
Yep.
So just a reminder. So there's no set topic. My microphone is. I don't look at my keyboard. That's fine. There's no set topic for today. We're just hanging out. So what our plan is the first Saturday of the month, or the first live stream of the month, is just a general hangout Q&A, and then we'll have set topics for the rest of the month. So this week it's first Saturday of May. Congratulations, everyone! You made it through April, and I will say I'm very happy to see April be done. That was a long month, man. April was a long month.
Yeah, it was a long month.
And I don't know
so
if
today,
go ahead.
This morning was my first time leaving the house in 3 weeks.
Yeah, you said you went to go get some flowers or something.
Yeah, some plants and
some plants.
Yeah, some soil, and it's beautiful today. So why not?
It is. It's a nice day. It's a nice day.
Yeah.
So real quick, a couple things that happened in the chat beforehand. So Anthony Berkeley, thank you so much for becoming a supporter of GynaCube, becoming a member of GynaCube. For those that don't know, you can become a member of GynaCube. It just helps support what we do on the channel. This is kind of like our side gig thing, and so it's very appreciative when you do that. And let me show. So you can go to this link here to become a member and see the different perks that are there. And then on this, if you are a member, be sure to check out the community tab on the YouTube channel every once in a while. So I'll have some posts there that are specific for members. And I'll also have some instructions depending on which level that you chose. There'll be some instructions on how you could take advantage of that perk. So be sure you're checking that out. And I will try and get some regular content. One thing I want to get out this month, one thing I'm going to do for the members also is at the beginning of the month for the previous month, try and put together a bunch of bloopers or behind the scene type stuff from the videos that we do. Patrick tends to have more than I do. Although April was light. I will add that April is a little light. But we'll have some of that, and I'll try and get that posted by the end of this weekend for the members.
Boom. 2 Cube supporters.
Yeah. So and then Douglas Klingman did a super emote for us, so much appreciated there. And let's see what else we got here. So we got two new supporters. Appreciate that. So we got Alex. Oh, Alex, man. Love seeing you in the chat, Alex. And then Paulie M. So welcome, guys. And so funny story about Alex in the chat. We've been drinking many times at conferences with Alex, and Alex, I would say, Alex, you're one of the folks that we miss when we travel. So it's good to see you in the chat. So my wife, Alex is from Sweden, and so my wife referred to Alex as Sweetie. So he's my sweetie.
Sweetie.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's nice.
Bam. Cool, man.
Oh man. So Wyatt McNabb, where are you, Wyatt? Where are you? So Wyatt commented, nice Star Destroyer. So thank you. So I've got the two big Star Destroyers, and then I've got way over on the side, I've got the big Millennium Falcon as well. I wanted to get the Millennium Falcon up behind me on the lower shelf, but it didn't fit. So yeah. All right. So let's see here. I'm queuing up some questions that we've got. Let me put this. Oh, that's already queued up, ready to go. Yeah. Alex says he can't wait to see us again.
Sweetie.
All right, let me just queue up a couple more of these, and then we'll get into the questions. Anything specific you want to call out, Patrick, before we get going here?
Nope. I just keep looking out. So I have these two French doors, right? And I just keep looking out at the sun. As soon as we're done, man, I'm going.
You get barbecue today?
It's gonna sound. I am, and I already have beer on the ice, and
oh, all right.
It's gonna be a great day. Man.
All right. So, Paulie, thank you for upgrading your perk. Appreciate that. And then Sean Donovan, welcome to becoming a member. That's awesome. And so, one other housekeeping thing I want to call out is the Microsoft Business Intelligence Summit, Microsoft Business Applications Summit is next week on May 6th. So that is, let me get this going. So you can go to that link and register for it. It was going to be an in-person event, but because of everything, it is now a live event only, and it's free. So you can just go and register. Wednesday, May the 6th, they're just going to have a full day of live stuff. There's going to be a live show as well. Patrick and I will actually be 2 of the 5 live hosts for the day. So really excited about that. You can come hang out with us all day long because we know you have nothing else to do on Wednesday. I mean, who does anything anymore?
I just blocked my whole Wednesday.
I blocked Monday through Wednesday because we got to do some rehearsal stuff on Monday and Tuesday.
I block those days. I got stuff to do.
Yep. And then, so after, when are we doing this? At 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, after a bunch of the live sessions, we are going to have a live stream on the Guy in a Cube YouTube channel for, or with the folks from BI Focal. So that's going to be fun. We did a test with them the other day, or yesterday actually, and it looked pretty good.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
All right. Ooh, sorry. A lot of questions coming in here. So let's get into this. Actually, so real quick, Jack commented that all the MBAS classes are full. I don't know about that. Thanks for letting me know. I'll let someone know and see if they. I personally, we have no control over that. But I can go let some folks know to see if they can fix that. So thanks for letting us know about that. All right. Douglas Chapman, thank you for becoming a member, as well as, I am not going to be able to pronounce that. I think that's the person that said they were from Belarus. I cannot pronounce that. I'm sorry. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. I've got a ton of questions, buddy.
Maybe we'll do some demos.
Let's go. So also real quick, Jessica asked if we can use the community tab on the YouTube site to ask members questions of other members, and that's not actually how that works. I think only I can post to the community tab, and then you can comment on it. So unfortunately that doesn't work. So let me look at, I know Ruth is doing this, a bunch of other streamers do this as well. I've been looking at setting up a Discord server, so I may get that going for members so that they can, discuss there, and that's a free discussion as part of that. So good question.
That's a good idea.
Jessica? Yeah.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea, Jessica.
All right. Alexander or Alex said Andre was the person from Belarus. So welcome. Okay, let's go to my queue here and let's get this going. All right, first question up. Reno, is it possible to authenticate users and view data according to who accesses it? I'm going to add in Power BI after that.
Is it possible to authenticate users and view data according to who accesses?
So the thing that screams to me on that is row level security.
Yeah, but the part that I'm not sure about is authenticate users, right? View according to who is accessed. Yeah, but what do you mean by authenticate?
Yeah, the way I interpreted that was more authorize than authenticate. So
gotcha.
probably hey, if a user comes in, what can we control what they can view from a data perspective?
Yeah.
And viewing the data, that would be row level security. In terms of who accesses it from an access list, that would be at the workspace level in terms of, if they're members of the workspace and or the access list of the app. And then based on when they signed in, if you've set up row level security inside of Power BI, then you can control either based on role or based on dynamic user access. Do you have something for row level security you could show, Patrick?
I can make something, but I don't have anything.
Okay.
Can make something. We could do it on the fly. We could do it on the fly.
Let's do it on the fly. Let's do it on the fly. Do you got it?
All right. Let's look at
Patrick's going to do it on the fly.
Are you sharing my screen?
Not yet. Do you want me to? Or do you want me to hold? You tell me when you want your screen up.
Do they want to see the entire demo or just the row level security part?
I would say just setting up row level security in Power BI Desktop.
All right. Well, let me. I need to create a calculated column really quick. Then.
Okay.
Go. Keep going. I'll let you know
All
when
right.
I'm ready.
All right. Well, Patrick's the demo master. All right. I'm queuing up a couple more that came in. And I think we're good. And let's go to the next one. All right. Send. So TraxTube 87 on-premise database, live connection, direct query connection versus incremental refresh in data flows. Whoa. Can you list pros and cons? Our case is large number of users, store employee, querying same database. So if we're querying the same database and we have a large number of users, and you're forced to go. So my first question would be, why are we necessarily looking at live connection versus direct query? Also, from a data flows perspective, I don't think we can do that. So it has to be import only from a data flows perspective. You can do incremental refresh in data flows. So there's a lot of stuff in this question that we got to unpack. The biggest thing that I would say, so first off, I did a video with Bob Ward on Thursday about direct query going against SQL. I would definitely say take a listen to that. It's a little bit of a long video, but it's got some general tips about like direct query in general, things to think about on that from a just performance level. Anytime you get into direct query, you're talking about performance. It's always going to be faster to import the data. Now, if we have it already in like Azure Analysis Services, then that's already a data model that we like. So if you're doing a live connection to that, it's not going to be as bad as direct query. From an incremental refresh perspective, obviously, if we've got a large data set, we want to bring in that data. We're not pulling in the whole data set, right? We're just getting little chunks. If you have a large number of users, I would really discourage direct query just from a concurrency perspective. And the interactive query load that Power BI is going to put on that is going to be a lot. So the other thing I would say with this is take a look at aggregations as well. So that gives you that mixed hybrid of, we could have that summary table where we pull in the that high level, higher grain. And so that is imported. And then if we need those detail rows, then we could hit direct query on that. So that's another option as well. So lots of stuff with that question. Whew. All right. Good. Let me go back. I saw a bunch more. Oh, it's one question where it was specific to Patrick. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know.
Me?
Yeah.
Somebody saying something about me?
Yeah.
All right, that's wonderful.
People want to know.
They want to know.
People want to know about
backstory.
the Patrick.
I'm going to make an origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick, the origin story.
Yeah, we're going to do one for you, one for me.
When he was a wee little
Origin
Pat.
stories.
When he was a wee little
All right,
Pat.
I'm ready.
Are you ready? You ready for the?
security.
All right. Let's go. Let's go over
let's
Patrick.
rock. Let's do it.
Let's do this.
All right. The origin story. Patrick LeBlanc. All right. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
This is fun.
You're live.
This is fun. So, right, this is really simple, right? This is a really basic row level security demonstration. But what I did, let's see, is Zoom it running on this, baby? Yeah. So I created because we didn't have a column, right? I created a really simple column with a switch saying, hey, if it's the United States, use Patrick, because Patrick likes to stay domestic. Adam's more of an international guy. And so if it's anything outside the United States, Adam owns it, right? And so when we set up our role, come on, baby. There we go. And if you click on the modeling view, the modeling tab here, and then go to manage roles, you would create the role. And so basically you would say create, and then find the table with that email address on it. And there's a little ellipsis right here. You click it and you say add filter. Then you can use the column that you want to use, right? And so in this case, I just want to use my email address column. Yep. And so I've already set this up. I didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to do that, guys. Here we go. Let's go back.
So the
And
email
I already
address
set
is
this
if you
up.
want that dynamic security.
Yeah, if I want the dynamic security. So
Right.
I always say I'm going to do a video on row level security, but we can do, just static security. So I can just add a filter on product, right? And say add filter and say color, and then say color equals red. And then when I deploy this out and I add people to that role, if they're part of that role, they would only see products with the color of red, right? But in this case, I'm setting up dynamic row level security. And you can see right here, I'm using the email address. And Adam, I want you to talk about, I'm going to ask you a question here.
Ooh.
Why did I use user principal name? Why didn't I use username?
Yeah, there's two
Enlighten me.
functions. There's
Enlighten me.
username and then
Yeah.
there's user principal name. Username will actually, so I'm going to switch over to my machine.
Please do. Yeah.
And
I'm going to have a drink of coffee.
yeah. All right. All right. So username will return. Pump this up so we can all see. This is the editor of choice for all people.
This is the best text editor in the world.
Yeah,
The world. Did you see Alex said Patrick origin story?
There's a
Episode
bunch
3.
of origin
Revenge.
stories. Yeah, there's a bunch of. I've been watching that. There's a bunch of ideas there. A Patrick Jedi Master.
man.
That just goes to his head. Don't say that.
It's gonna be a T-shirt. It's gonna be a T-shirt.
All right. So username.
Oh, this is good. This is good. I like the way you do it.
Doing this on the fly, right? My massive typing skills. Also, I want you to know, just to appreciate a little bit, like all these special characters that you get on the number row. My keyboard is a blank keyboard, and so I do all that from my head. So,
Oh, you're so special.
just saying. It's a deterrent when I was actually working in the office, and people would mess with my machine, and they would get to my keyboard and go like, "What the?" Like, how do I do that? All right. So username, when you're inside a Power BI desktop, it's going to return your local domain credentials. So gynacube/asaxton. Once you publish it to the service, username will return the user principal name, which is asaxton@gynacube.com. User principal name on both, I did that wrong. Service. Right. So user principal name will return the UPN, user principal name, in both cases. And so just from a development and deployment perspective, it's always easier to just use user principal name. Otherwise you get into all this wonkiness and your column doesn't need to represent two separate values. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
All right, so let's go back to the questions. I lost my other page. Here we go. Ooh.
So, man, there's a lot of origin stories.
I know. All right. Yeah. Which one? Oh, the last filter. That's pretty good. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Really
I can see the Twitter memes. I can see the Twitter memes coming now. All right. Let's go to which one do we do? All right, here we go. All right, Patrick, this one's for you. Paulie asks, do you think paginated reports will ever be part of Power BI Pro?
There's lots of discussion. There's just lots of discussion going around that. I can't say yes. I can't say no. Maybe. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Stay tuned. Ideas.powerbi.com. Make sure you're voting it up. I know Chris Finland has said this many times, even in public sessions. Like, he absolutely would love it to be, but you know, there's technical reasons. There's other things. So it's just kind of a wait and see right now. We don't have any inside scoop for you.
So who's this? Right. Paulie, I spent the last 2 days designing paginated reports. I was such a wonderful 2 days. Wonderful 2 days.
So you need to give a little more context there, Patrick, because no one knows what you're talking about.
So we got an escalation, right? We got an escalation. It was so important. It had to happen. And we had these Power BI reports. And they said, Patrick, you need to convert the Power BI reports to paginated reports. And wow. It was 14 pages. If you have never designed a paginated report, I don't think you'll understand what I went through for this. But I'm gonna tell you what Adam always says. If it doesn't work, use a rectangle. If it doesn't work, don't use a rectangle.
No. So when I was in support with paginated reports, anytime we had an issue, and typically it was around like, hey, I've got this extra page or things aren't lining up correctly. Yeah. The answer was always, if it's in a rectangle, take it out of the rectangle. If it's not in a rectangle, put it in a rectangle. And that solved like 9 out of 10 issues. And it was so funny because Patrick was doing something. This is a while back. And Patrick calls me up and he's like, hey, I had this issue in paginated reports. Guess how I fixed it? I'm like, you put it in a rectangle. He's like, I put it in a rectangle. Like, there you go.
Because you know what? It was a KPI. So when you put a KPI in like a Tablix, you want to control the size of it. And so it'll automatically grow and shrink based on the cell, right? And so what you do is if you create it outside the Tablix and you put it in the rectangle, then you drag the rectangle and it inside of the Tablix, it won't like get all pixelated. So it's really nice. It's really nice. Anyway, another pro tip on paginated reports. If you set a page break after any object, it's automatically going to start to add a blank page. And if you just want to get rid of the blank page, just say, don't give me a new.
And we were talking about Patrick's like, man, I would just love to just have a new page like right there. I'm like, at a page break.
That way.
So Alex is continuing it. Episode 9, Rise of the Rectangle. Just keeping that live. So Douglas, I would say this is a controversial statement. Paginated reports are so worth the premium capacity. We are so in love. That's awesome to hear. Awesome to hear, Douglas. All right.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a true use case for them, they are absolutely. Yep. I mean, I just understanding the difference between the two. Did we do a session on this already?
For what?
Difference between Power BI and Paginate. We did this already.
I think so. All right. Douglas had a question. Any idea on allowing a user with zero experience an easy way to add commentary on a report for print? For example, board reports. Would an embedded Power App be the route? So for adding comments, so there is a comment feature on items in the Power BI service. But if you're looking for like annotation on the report itself, like the mobile app allows you to do that. And then the other way would be maybe a Power App embedded where you can control some of that. But check out the comments on reports in the service and see if that meets your needs. Because sometimes also they can add, like if they highlight a certain visual or whatever, like you can add that that context, like almost like a personal bookmark to the comment itself. So it's kind of nice.
So, but think if you had like if you had a table, and the table was Adam comment, Patrick comment, and it always did an upburst based on who it was, and then you had a card or something on your report, and whatever you entered into the Power App, and it was in direct query mode, when you enter it, it would just automatically, display back what you typed in there. That'd be good.
A lot of options. A lot of options.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. A lot. So Kim had a question. I'm just getting started with buttons and bookmarks. Can you demo some cool bookmark applications? All right. Well, Patrick's all like, let me go to.
You got a good one.
Yeah, it's okay.
I can open it.
Oh, I got it. So let me go over to my desktop here. Let me get rid of Kim's question here. So I have a video on there's a couple videos I have on bookmarks. One of them is the slicer panel. And so what I did is this is actually using an image, not a button per se, but you can do the same thing with buttons. Where I've got an image here, it's a little hamburger item, and then if I click on it, it actually shows the slicer panel. And then I've got an actual button here that collapses the slicer panel. That's kind of cool, right? So I just have that little button and then a little button. If I go to view, bookmarks, selections, so you'll see that I've got, like a one with no slicer, one with the slicer menu. So two different bookmarks that are assigned, the image and the button are then assigned to the bookmarks for showing and hiding. So you could do something like that. The other thing that is relatively new, let me go to insert and button, and I'll just do I'm just going to pick a random button here. Which one do I want? I'll just do a bookmark button, just because all I need is a button. You can do this with a blank button. And then what I can do here is I can set this button under actions. You have a bunch of different types that you can do. So drill through is a preview item. So you can enable that. So you can actually have buttons now where the text is contextual based on what you're filtering in the selection. But one thing I'm going to do that gives it more of the app experience, because that was your comment about apps, is I'm going to choose page navigation for this. And then I'm going to say go to, where do I want to go to? I'm going to say go to additional overview. So now I've got a button here where if I click on that, it just changes the page. And so I can have different buttons aligned in the report where I can actually control that navigation. And so I could technically have this page hidden. So if I hide that page and then go back here, and if I click that button, it'll actually take me to that page, even though the page isn't listed down below. So now you can have all of these different kind of experiences and or overlays, switching overlays. So maybe if you want to go from a table to a chart of some kind. So lots of cool things you can do with buttons and bookmarks. And the only thing I will add is be careful with bookmarks. If you start getting a ton of bookmarks, you are going to start getting a little confused, because as you make changes, you may have to update the bookmark. And you may forget that maybe there's 2 or 3 bookmarks that actually need to be updated, but you only did 2 and not the third one. And then you get some wonkiness in the display that you're just not sure about. I had one issue where they had a slicer, and on the slicer here, they had changed it to a drop down. And then when they went back and then kind of come back, whenever they would make the selection, all of a sudden they would say, randomly, this is getting turned back to a list, and they don't understand why. And I'm like, how many bookmarks do you have? And he's like, oh, I've got like 150 bookmarks. And I'm like, yeah, you missed one. You missed one.
God.
And he went back, and sure enough, it was like, oh, yeah, it was a bookmark doing that. So, yeah. So, all right.
I've been doing a lot with bookmarks. I've been doing some neat things. There's a guy, Miguel Myers. He's been showing me some pretty cool stuff. We did something last night around 7:30. He called me, and it was urgent. It was one of the COVID things, and it was pretty cool. Pretty cool what he did, though. I had to write some DAX for him, but it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
all right. Sorry, I'm trying to queue up a couple more. These are coming in pretty quick. Kaylin534, thank you for becoming a member. Much appreciated. Let's do. All right, I got them all. right, let's go back.
There's a lot of questions, man.
I know. All right, Wyatt. Wyatt's got the most important question. Did we get an April update for Power BI Desktop? Not yet. So there was a blog post. Actually, let me go back to my machine. Whoops. Oh,
My nose is itching.
your nose is itching.
Yeah, but I can't touch it.
Okay. There is a blog. Where is it? Some important updates. I'll put this in the chat. This blog post from Will Thompson, he talked about like what's going on with the April desktop release, and he mentioned that it is being held for May 6th for Business Application Summit. And a lot of the delay was just centered around the COVID-19 situation and just the deployment trains that are happening or getting delayed on the Microsoft side. Some of the things I know they were trying to potentially slow down some things. There was an overall Azure blog that talked about what was going on with deployments, and Power BI kind of fell into that, just kind of slowing down some of the changes so that businesses weren't necessarily affected as they're dealing with everything else. And so it was just kind of hey, let's maybe not interrupt businesses and maintain continuity and all of that. So the April release is scheduled for May 6th. So generally, they like to try and get the releases on the second Tuesday of the month. But this one obviously was a little delayed, and so then your next logical question would be, well, is the May update coming the week after? I doubt it. So they probably want to let that breathe a little bit before they just drop the May release on you right after the April release. So just stay tuned to the Power BI blog for updates, and so it should be on Wednesday. All right, good question. Now, let's see here. Going back. That. All right, Sandeep asks, hi both. Could you please suggest me how I can improve my visualization skills? Any blogs or books would like to suggest? There is a... Sure, chat is jumping on this as well, but there is... So Patrick mentioned Miguel Myers on our team, or on the Power BI Cat team. And he is a designer of reports. He does a bunch of cool stuff. He did a couple of videos, and I'm going to put a link to his YouTube channel in the chat. That was the stuff that he shows in there from a visualization standpoint are pretty slick. So I would definitely check out that. And then there's
also
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I was going to say the other thing I would do is take a look at just visualization and storytelling, just general books and blogs that are out there. Like I know Alberto Cairo's got some great books out there. I like charts.
Stephen Few.
Yeah, Stephen Few. So just, I think it's more around design principles than necessarily. So there's two aspects of it. One is the design principle piece, and then the other is, okay, how do I actually implement that inside of Power BI Desktop? Let me go back to I showed this last week, but I'm going to go back to it real quick. You can find it quickly. All right. So that COVID report that Miguel Myers had worked on. Just show you this trick again. So if I go to the flatten the curve tab, so a bunch of these are buttons. So going back to Kim's question about items, I'll put this in the chat as well. This is a good example of like how you can use buttons, bookmarks, all sorts of navigation things. But this chart here, this is an example. Some people may say like, whoa, what visual did you use to do that? And I think he said a combination of like 5 visuals layered on top of each other from, I think there's a bar chart in there somewhere and some specific lines. And so layering of those visuals can give you some interesting design approaches. So something to consider. So, all right. Good question. Let's see. Back. So Christian, real quick, just while I'm here. says, do you have any examples of overlapping charts? Yeah, I just did. That's the only one that's the only readily example that I have on it. I know there's probably some others.
Download it, right?
There's not a way to
download that,
down.
right?
I don't think so, because weren't you working on that?
I am working on it. Oh, yes, for the state. It's coming out. It's coming
Yes.
out.
Yeah,
You'll be able
yeah.
to download it sometime pretty soon.
Yeah. So yep. So not yet. That's the only one I have, Christian. So let's see here. Let's go back. Sean McLeod asks, what's a good source control for Power BI? I know Visual Studio plus ADO, but what about Power BI desktop modeling? So a couple different aspects. When we talk about source control, typically what you're asking is not necessarily source control of Power BI. You're talking about source control of the different elements within Power BI. So the data model, the Power Query pieces, the report layer. And right now, Power BI Desktop itself is not broken up like that. So if you're just source controlling Power BI Desktop, you're source controlling the binary file. One thing you can do, and this speaks to Patrick's heart, is separate the data model from the report.
Yes.
Right? So reduce data silos. So now my Power BI Desktop, my report is doing a live connect to a data model or data set inside of Power BI. I can source control that. That's just my report. And then on the data set side, now because of the XMLA read-write endpoint with Premium, if you have that, you can actually use tools like Tabular Editor, DAX Studio, SQL Server data tools, and then have source control on the data model side. So those are things to consider there. So good question.
Yeah, really important stuff. That's really important stuff.
Yep. So, whoops. Let's go. All right. Hello, GM. I am combining files. So this is Sagar. I'm combining files in Power Query, but when I schedule refresh, it fails with the error, mashup data access error. It would be great if you could help. So I'd have to do a quick search on that. So you could use the search engine of your choice. But when you go to Bing, search for mashup data access error and see if you can find some other blog posts around that. My assumption would be that it has something to do with your privacy levels, that there's a mismatch of privacy levels.
We just had this problem with a group I was working with, and they got this error. And all we did was they had one where it wasn't set and one where privacy levels was set.
Yep.
And we just set them to both organization, and that error went away. And it's easy to go if you go in the query editor.
Well, so this is when they deploy it to the service. So they're doing schedule refresh. Yeah, so let me go.
Yeah, we changed it in the desktop and redeployed.
So the service actually ignores what's set in the desktop. That's my understanding. Because when you go, if you're using the personal gateway, it should pick it up, I believe.
Enterprise.
Yeah, so in the enterprise gateway, when you go to manage gateways, and if you have data sources here, for the data source itself, underneath advanced is where you can set the privacy level.
Yeah.
So that's where you would set it. So maybe they changed it to pick up from what's in desktop, but last time I had heard it ignored the desktop. So
we did go here. Yep.
So if you're in Power BI Desktop, what you can do is if you go to transform, not transform. If you click on the down arrow for transform data and then go to data source settings, and then for each specific one, I can come into edit, and then you'll see a privacy level there that you can set. So just set them all to organization, and hopefully that'll clear that up. And if that doesn't work, try out your Bing Foo.
It cleared it up right away, man.
Yeah, that should be what that was.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. All right. So far, so good. Michael Shepard says, "What's up? What's up? What's up, Michael?
What's up, Mike?
What's up, Michael? That's an easy question. All right. This is this one's for you, Patrick. This is all you. BW for HANA authorizations in Power BI. Yeah, that's not Patrick. That's me.
Not me at all.
So right now we don't actually have a connector for BW for HANA, or so Power BI doesn't have a connector. You could do HANA directly, or you could do BW directly, but the BW for HANA connector is not available yet. I want to say, let me check. I want to say, yeah, that's all. Anything HANA related is Patrick.
Yeah.
No, let me check. I'm just looking on the public roadmap to see. Is it there? Right, where's Power Mercury Desktop? Nothing for BW for HANA. So I was just looking on the public roadmap item, and I don't see anything for BW for HANA. So I would say ideas.powerbi.com. I know there are customers asking for that. I don't have any information for you, so unfortunately.
Sorry.
Okay. So Aubrey asks, do you prefer multiple date tables or using inactive relationships referring to each date specifically, and why? That's all, Patrick.
The latter, of course. I wouldn't, think about if you have two date tables and you created two measures, let's say a quantity or a profit and a sales measure, and then you try to correlate them on the same graph. But because they're dependent on two different date tables, how do you do that? It's near impossible unless you overlay them, right? You just put them on top of each other. And so if you use the inactive relationships with a single calendar table, now both of those measures will use the exact same attributes from your date table, and now you can put them in the same visuals, so now you can do comparisons and things like that. So use a single date table, and also, right, it saves space in your model. So up to you though. Potato. My preference, single date table.
Yep, I agree. And Arash M, thank you for becoming a member of Guy in a Cube. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much. Yep.
All right, let's go. I'm trying to spot. It's been hard for me to spot the member questions versus the non-member questions. I really wish vMix would update their tool to show that, because that would be awesome. I don't have them all memorized. I'm sorry. So Ken asks, no time. All right. Does incremental refresh large data model require more memory, CPU resources from premium capacity? Concerning to leveraging these features might impact our capacity. Incremental large, I would say yes. Large.
It's a larger.
Large data models are in memory, right? So they're going to impact memory usage.
I don't think, regardless if you have incremental refresh configured or not, right? A large data model is going to impact your memory.
What incremental refresh is going to help you with is whenever you refresh a data set, so let's say we're not using incremental refresh, you're essentially doubling the size of that data model, right? Because we basically get a read-only copy, and then we've got the one that we're processing. And then when it's done refreshing, it swaps it. And so incremental refresh, you're getting a smaller segment. And so the refresh headroom that you need is less with incremental refresh. And so for larger data models, absolutely you want to use incremental refresh to help with that. Obviously. So the other thing with large data models typically is these are more central data models that are going to have higher use on them, which means more concurrency. And so that also is a factor that's going to play in resources, right? So if it's more heavily used, it's going to stay in memory more, which means if you have other things coming into that capacity as well, you may starve out other items, or those other items may also impact the one that you're really centered on. So those are all things to consider in terms of that. It's you just got to be mindful of resources, right? They're finite from a premium perspective as of today. And so that is something that you need to be aware of. So it's just like your machine, like your laptop, right? If I load up a giant, I'm trying to think of a good example there that's not Power BI related. If I'm trying to play World of Warcraft, right? And each World of Warcraft instance takes up 5 GB of memory, which it doesn't. But if it did, right? And you wanted to 5-box World of Warcraft with 5 accounts running on one machine, but you only had 16 gig of memory, you don't have enough space, right? So those are things to consider in terms of resource usage, right? It takes up resources on the machine. And yes, I
Man,
Firebox
just open-
Warcraft.
Just open Visual Studio a couple of times. That'll do it for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Watch your CPU go nuts. There was Patrick was trying to repro something where we were doing something with a streaming data set, and I think you did this in one of the videos that you did on it, where you're like, all right, well, how do I get the CPU indicator to spike? Let me open Visual Studio. And look at that CPU go. That was awesome. Oh, bother. Let's see here.
So I want to say this, right? So and it was called out already about subreports. Subreports came out in paginated reports. It was a big axe. I saw you scrolling on the blog post there, and a lot of people had asked me for subreports, and they're out. So go check it out. Download the latest report builder. Way to go, team.
Good job, team.
Yep.
All right. Let's see here. I'm trying to spot. Just trying to spot really quick. Make sure we're hitting up the members. Members get a priority. So let me go to. I'm gonna go to Seth. I don't remember. Let's do Seth. I'm using workspace apps to distribute content for my users. For example, I have a sales app and a finance app. I have an AR aging report that lives in the finance. Best approach to share with sales. So, right. So licensing aside, we're using apps to distribute content to users. That's great. We've got a sales app and we've got a finance app. We've got an aging report that lives in finance. How do we share that with the sales folks? Can you give them access to the finance app and then have maybe row level security on that to restrict the data? That's one option. If you have a specific report in the finance app, you don't want to give them everything else. You just want to give them that one. You could potentially just share that individual report with those folks from a security group perspective. That's another option. Today you have one app per one app workspace, so you can't have multiple apps per workspace. And so if you really wanted an individual app that had that individual finance report and share that with sales folks, you'd actually have to duplicate the report into another workspace to have an app to be able to give them access to that. So those are kind of your options on that. No confidentiality info in finance. So, yeah.
You know, Chris Wagner had a good idea. Link the finance report in the sales app. Yeah,
but you need to make sure you give them access to that report, though, right? So you still need access. So just having a link to it, they may get hey, you don't have access, request access, and that's a bad user experience. You could preset them up and share them or something. So, yeah, lots of options. Okay. Go ahead. Got another question from Kim. Oh, no, we already did that one. We got you covered, Kim. Hopefully that was good info for you.
Her picture says teehee.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Let's see.
I'm just in a good mood today, man.
That's good, because you were not in a good mood earlier this week.
No. I'm in a good mood today.
No. Douglas had another question there. Could you give some advice on the best way to publish out a set of reports, including paginated to the entire organization? So apps are, again, a great way to do that. Within an app, you can specify that the entire organization has access to that, or you can do on specific security groups for that. And paginated reports can be included in apps. So the catch you're going to have is what we mentioned earlier, is that if it's just a set of reports that you want to go out and not other ones, then you may have to end up duplicating content to get that kind of feel. The other thing to remember, if you do duplicate that content, try using that shared data set approach for that as well. Just remember they need build rights. Do they need build rights if we share it in an app? You may need build rights. Double check that. But that's something to consider on that front. I don't think so either. So Mark Walter, thank you so much for the super emote. Much appreciated. I'm working on getting some alerts to in the stream to do that. So Let's see. Get rid of that. What we got time-wise? We got 10 minutes, man. We're cranking through these. I like this.
Good question.
All right. Aditya asks, top 10 filter at page level.
I don't think. Let's see. I don't think so though.
DAX? No, you could do top 10.
Well, I mean, I could do DAX.
You could do a top. You could do a top filter.
Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna do it. I'm doing it right now.
All right. Let's go over to Patrick's PC.
But Mark Walter had a question right below his thing there.
Good.
Yeah. I still got it up. Combining date table and time table. So anyway, so I have filters on all pages, right? And I just drug over my customer name, right?
Yep.
Can you guys see, Adam? Are you sharing my screen?
Yeah.
And then change it from, look, see?
Basic, advanced, yep, on the page. Yep. You want to,
Yeah.
What if you want to go to advanced?
And then,
Wasn't top in there?
watch this. So
Really?
we click this guy right here. This is where we have the top 10 one at, on
Yeah.
this guy right here,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah, go to that.
If I go, this is on the visual itself, right? See,
Right.
filter type. So you get, you
Can't
get
do it at
advanced
the page
basic,
level.
but you can't do it at the page level. So you could do some DAX.
It'd have to be
You could
DAX.
do some DAX.
It'd have to be DAX.
It would have to be done with DAX. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's
It'd have to be
interesting.
done
I
with DAX. I didn't think so. Somebody asked me that
question.
question before. Yeah.
All
Somebody
right.
asked
So here's one question from Mark that I'll throw up there. Query.
top 10 at page level.
Yeah. Query issue this week. We added a new column to our sales files. New column to our sales files. They show up in all files identically. The query error with column. Query errors with column of the table wasn't found. This is a blank column. I'd want to know what the source of that data is. Because I know, like, if you're going to SharePoint lists and maybe something changes, that could end up having a problem. I need to know the source, and I need to know the what the M looks like in there. I mean, off the top of my head. The other thing is,
Well,
I'd have
he's
to do
saying-
my search foo.
He's saying files though. Or is this
So maybe it's an Excel
is this
file.
a CSV or an Excel file?
Okay, so he says
when you
on-prem
import them-
CSV folder.
Yeah.
On-prem
So
CSV
sometimes
folder.
when you do that, sometimes when you do it from folders, there's a option at the top of the query. In the source, it says columns equal to a number. And sometimes, and I'm trying to figure out when it does it and when it doesn't do it, but it'll, like, when I do that, expand that binary in the folder, it'll, in the M, it says columns equal to 8. And even if I add a new column or take a column away, it still shows 8 columns. If you just get rid of that property in the very first part of the M, it'll just bring everything in. So you probably want to take a look at that.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. I noticed that about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Jack Irby, thank you for becoming a member. Much appreciated. So Paulie had a couple things. So Paulie said, happens when you have a file source like CSV where the number of columns changes. So that's true. And then you need to change the first line of the query to adjust to the number of columns, which is what Patrick was
There you go.
mentioning. Yep. There you go.
Yep. But there's another question by Mark Walter. Right, but oh no, that's somebody else. Never mind.
Yeah,
You got his question.
I
You got
didn't,
Mark Walter.
I didn't see what you were doing.
Yeah.
Let's do. So Arash just asked ETA on live connection support with composite models. The public roadmap says September for that, so it is coming. I actually saw a demo of it. Was it yesterday? Thursday. I saw a demo of it Thursday. It was pretty slick. So I would say watch the Business Application Summit, and you will maybe be delighted with what you see. So, but yeah, so the public, the release wave, I'm going to say that for Alex's benefit, says September. So, okay, so let's go back to the queue. A few more minutes here. We're doing. All right. George asked, I have a direct connection between ComCare and Power BI reports, but my boss wants me to include a date for the last refresh schedule at the top of the report. Yay! How can I work around that, please? direct connection between ComCare and Power BI report. So we're doing I'm assuming that's a live connection. So today, this goes back to Arash's comment of you can't do composite models with live connections. That's coming in September. So if you are doing a live connect to a data set or an AS model from a Power BI report, you're not going to be able to, it would have to already exist in the model in terms of like having that refresh information in the model itself. So yeah, it would have to be there. You can't do it in the Power BI desktop side of it. So. All right. Let's do, Suresh asks, we have converted Power BI reports from import mode to direct query mode. Ooh, that means you rebuilt them. Then refresh is getting failed. Any idea why it's failing? So why would you refresh if you're direct query?
Yeah.
That's the whole point of doing direct query is we don't have to refresh. Also, if you're saying you converted import to direct query, you can't import or you can't convert import to direct query. Once you're an import, you're kind of locked, which means you had to rebuild all of that and start over.
Yep.
I don't know why you're refreshing. So there should be no refresh there. Now, you may have to refresh your backend data source, but that's a whole different issue.
And if they're just getting like the little X's on the reports because they can't read it right and it's on premises, they need to set up the gateway, set up their data source so you can go all the way back because direct query is querying it all the way back to the data source.
Right. Yep. All right. So Polly had a nice little comment here as we're getting close. Polly just said, just want to say totally appreciate all the effort you've gone in the stream on the technical side to make the streaming quality perfect. Well done. Yeah, thank you for that. Patrick did so much work on this.
There was a lot of bumps in the road.
There were.
Admit, though.
There were some bumps, but I think we got this all figured out.
Bumps in the road.
So I
literally had to build my own little network down in my office just to get some.
Yeah. All right. Moving this train along. Clock is a ticking. Thomas had a question. Any news about setting policies for data refresh schedule in the Power BI service? Not exactly sure what you mean by policies. I'm gonna take a guess and maybe like you want to like maybe have a set time for certain people or where you can block certain things. I'm not aware of anything coming from that standpoint. So I don't know necessarily what you mean by policies. What happened?
You gotta read Alex.
Oh, Alex. I just saw that.
Adam is the text and Patrick is the bumps.
Oh boy.
It's true. It's true. Adam set all this stuff up. Stuff shows up at my house and he's like, connect this, connect that.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you need? Like, what do you need? All right. It's going to be there on Tuesday.
Like I got these new little earphones, so I don't have to use my big figure out how to put them on. Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to put them on.
By the way, these earphones, I got to put a link in our tools page. These earphones were like $25. Not expensive.
Yeah.
As opposed to these, which I won't say how much these were, or Patrick's.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if we can
Next
get see if we can get a. Wait, what's next week?
I'll wear them next week.
Oh, what are these called? These are like it's like MEE something. I'll have them. I'll put them on our tools page, which has a list of all of our gear. So I'll put those in there. I don't know. These are the SteelSeries Arctic Pro Wireless. These were not $25. So, and then Patrick's Beats headphones were not $25 either. All right. So Michael asks, Slicer default member anytime soon.
Oh boy, we just talked about this, right?
We wish. Yeah.
There was a blog post I read about doing it with DAX, and I tried it out, and the problem it may work for certain things if you can check to see what's selected. Yeah. And so if you have a list slicer and you say, hey, is this value selected? If it's not the default value, the measure, you can write it in the DAX to say always, when you open the report, check to see what's selected. If it's not the value you want, always display this. And then once they start selecting about, you can adjust it. But yeah, if it's not a list slicer, you don't know what's selected, so it'll be kind of difficult to do.
Yep. And so Alex Hicks said all about the beats, Patrick. All about the
All
beats.
about the beats. All about the beats. All about the beats. They sound great, man. They just sound so great.
My Arctic Pro wireless ones are excellent. So where is? Let's go. I'm just going to randomly pick for the last question of the day.
There's a really good one.
Which one?
Oh, there's a really good
I'll let you pick. What is it?
It would be really cool if Power BI could distribute PDFs of reports via email through Active Directory. Can, right? Set up a subscription.
Yeah, you can use security groups with the subscription. Well, so not for Power BI reports. You can do that for paginator reports. So one thing you could do. So let's talk about this. So the Export to API allows you to generate the PDFs. Chris Webb had two great blog post series of how he's using Power Automate to call that, and then you get the PDF blob. And I actually worked with a customer where they're doing that. They get the binary and then pump that into an email and send that out all through Power Automate. So the thing to realize about the Export to API is it requires premium, though. So if you don't have premium, that's not going to be an option. Also, there's some other limitations around it. Lots of good requests for the subscription PDF for Power BI reports. Go vote that up in ideas.powerbi.com. Definitely. All right, Patrick, that's going to do it for this week. So I know. I'm sorry. It's that hour goes by fast.
All
right, everyone.
It goes by too fast.
So just a reminder, Business Application Summit Wednesday, all day. You can hang out with us. And then after that, live stream with the folks from the BI Focal Show podcast. It can be a good time. And for that live stream with the BI Focal folks, Jason and John, we will have select beverages of our individual choice on the stream just to hang out, a little power pint. So just have a good time, wind down from the full day of Business Application Summit. So we will see you there. Have a great week, everyone. Oh.
I'll tell you everybody's standing out of line for the water slide. You can come on over. We can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide.